So chat, apparently Ubisoft has released a big update for their Star Wars Outlaws. Fillion's coming back from the pit is always funny. It's always pretty funny. But apparently our good old friend Luke Steffen has tried out the new update. Apparently cuz they said that the new, at least the new lead producer, I think, or something like that, or the lead, whatever the fuck it's called again, the position or so. Um They said they were gonna overhaul the game. So apparently, that's what they said. I don't know if it's true, but we can find out if it is true. Let's see what has changed in Star Wars Outlaws,
Well, everyone,
or
here we are.
or if anything has changed in Star Wars Outlaws. Let me say that again. If anything has changed, you know.
It is patch day for Star Wars Outlaws 1.4 to be specific. And 1.4 is important because it happens to bring a bunch of improvements and enhancements, quote unquote, to the game, such as the ability to improve all sorts of enemy AI, improve detection of various enemies and NPCs. They've improved other things, such as the ability to carry weapons with you when you go up and down ladders. NPCs are far more likely to use cover during combat. Enemies stagger.
Wait, you couldn't carry a weapon with you when you go up and down the ladder? Jesus Christ.
When explosions go off near them more consistently.
I knew it was bad. But I didn't know it was that bad, at least, you know.
Consistently now, adjusted jumping to give more control in the air of where you land. That's cool. All sorts of different things. Fixed an issue with destructible flora, all sorts of stuff. So they've made a ton of improvements. And my question is whether this takes the game from being a rough wait till it's on a deep sale kind of game, or if it's finally at the point where I can recommend that you check it out if you're a Star Wars fan. And I am excited to try it because I do think this game has a lot of potential at its core. I think that the idea is a cool one. Open world Star Wars game, sort of a Han Solo-esque character. Okay, bring it on.
Yeah, but you can't, like, one of the things is that you're an outlaw. So you're like a, you know, you're kind of basically a criminal, but you can't really do like a lot of bad criminal-esque stuff, at least, you know. At least to my knowledge anyways. Like nothing too crazy. You can't just like rob people or anything like that, you know?
Oh no, the game just crashed. Oh no. I'm not kidding. As I was saying that, the game crashed while I was loading in. Okay, not off to a great start. Oh no, do we know how this video's gonna end? Damn it, guys.
Well then. Well then.
Okay, let's try this again. We're gonna load in here. This is a save probably like 14, 15 hours into the game. Okay, this is working out. This is in Akiva. This is their like forested, tropical looking planet, or maybe more jungle planet, not really tropical. But as you can see here, we are running, rocking and rolling. I can turn on performance metrics. This is all without any DLSS or anything. This is just rendering natively so that I can have VSync turned on so you don't get nasty screen tearing in the recording. But as you can see, it's running solid, but that was never the biggest problem for this game. Yeah, there were times where frame rates might be lower, depending on what you were doing. But the real problem with Star Wars Outlaws was always the stealth for me, and that was because of the AI. And there's two different things they've done to address that. For one, they have now lifted the mandatory stealth sequences pretty much throughout the entire game. Main story, side quests, all of that. Meaning, if there's a sequence where you are, for example, like required to stealth, and if you're detected, it's an auto fail state and you have to reload. That's been stripped out of almost every quest in the game. There's some where
interesting. Okay.
obviously for like main story reasons, it has to play out that way. But for the most part, like 95, 96% of all of those missions have been redone so that you can now fail stealth and then just fight your way out of it, which I think is much more on theme for this type of game. I mean, it's Star Wars Outlaws, right? It's not Star Wars Assassin's Creed, whatever. The other thing they've done to improve.
Wow, that sounds so frustrating. Like every time you get caught, you're automatically like it automatically like ends the mission or so. Like you fail the mission because you got caught. Man, dude. So that's how it was. So that's how it was before. Oh, that doesn't. That's definitely does not sound fun whatsoever.
Stealth is that they have reworked all of the AI for various enemies. They've reworked how each of these beings behave. Did he just hop off his speeder to shoot at some little creature in the tree? Yeah, he totally did. He's shooting the little I don't even know what these things are. Are they gonna jump him? They totally are. Huh. Well, you picked a fight with them, dude. They weren't doing anything to you. Oh no, they got him. They took him out. Cringe. Wow. Okay, so dude was just riding along, stopped to try and shoot some of these dudes, and then they just killed him. So maybe like encounter AI is better, but it seems like their general behavior might still be a little stupid. But I mean, they are stormtroopers after all. They were never that intelligent to begin with, if you've watched any of the movies, I guess. But anyway, they say that they've improved enemy detection. They've improved their ability to hear you. They've improved their patrols. They've improved all sorts of different things that should make stealth sequences much more stealthy and much less frustrating and arbitrary. So I want to test it for myself, and that's what we're gonna do. I also want to test some of the other improvements, such as the ability to pick up guns going up and down ladders and stuff.
Hey,
the
Sal.
elephant in the room here, though, is all of this should have been in the game at launch. We are all aware of that. We all get that.
Remember, Ubisoft is just an indie company, okay? Didn't you guys hear? Half of their team don't even know what they're doing, you know? There's a lot of juniors in their in their company now. They're an indie studio now, you know? Don't be so harsh on the indie studio. You know, they're learning. They're just learning, you know?
That's not breaking news to anybody. But the fact that they are adding it after the fact, I think does deserve some credit, because historically, most big companies like Ubisoft, when they have a rough launch, they just sort of walk away and abandon it. And they're like, we're probably not making a profit. Just scrap it, move on. What's the point in trying? And it's really unfortunate that that's historically the approach, but it is. And I hope that this at least pays off for them in goodwill, such that they continue to fix other games that have had problems, or in the future, if there's games that have problems, they put the effort in to actually improve it and fix it, instead of just walking away like a lot of companies do. And I mean, the other piece of this is that the developers knew how this game was. They knew the state of it. There was no mystery there. There were stories with like AC Shadows where the devs were saying for months, we need to delay this. We need to take some more time to polish.
Really? So if they knew about this, why didn't it just delay it at like closer to the end of the year, and then like move AC Shadows to next year, which they did, right? But why didn't it just move, you know, the Star Wars Outlaws later on in the year?
Thử thầy tao bắn mày liền á.
Mày知唔知即係話黑社會嚇？
Mày tưởng tao
操
không hả?
你
Tao
媽
bắn mày
的
á.
搞緊嗰個
Tao
苗
xuống
啊！
đây nè.
操你媽！
Hai vụ á. Mày có chân á,
操
tao
你
bắn
媽
mày á.！Mày
我
tưởng mày
搞緊我什麼黑手？
tại nhân dân của chúng
操
đây
你
tất
媽
cả
啲
chúng tao
嘢
của！chúng đó.
I usually wait until that finishes over before continuing playing.
It's not ready. And it was only after Star Wars Outlaws launched with some technical issues that executives at Ubisoft woke up and were like, oh.
I think it might be a little bit too low as well. Actually, hold on, give me a second. Let me increase it just slightly a little bit. Sorry for the audio being a little bit too low.
We should probably fix this. And so I hope that now, at least for the next few years until they forget again, executives will pay attention to the devs when they say they need more time, because what we're seeing here is what happens when those devs are given the time to work on it, when they can make those improvements, make the changes, and the game is significantly better as a result. And we're gonna.
The problem is like, you know, it's a bunch of juniors who don't know really much about it, like a lot of things, or not really expertise in a lot of this stuff. Which I think, in my personal opinion, they should probably teach those in school or something like that. I don't know if they teach any. I don't even know how game design school works, right? I don't really know if they teach a lot of these things or so specifically, but they should. If they don't, if they don't do it, of course. But at the same time, some of these juniors need a little bit extra more time for some of these games because they don't know.
Check out all that stuff, but a quick thank you to our sponsor.
Oh my God, a sponsorship! Oh wow, damn, that's
You won't
crazy.
regret it. Okay, here we are in a stealth sequence on Tatooine. As you can see, we've got some people looking around, walking around. Now, part of the improvements that they claim they've made is with enemy detection and stuff. So historically, if I were to stand right next to this guy, so at like his 90 degree, from straight in front of him, 90 degrees off just to the side, he would not see me. I remember that being an exploit, something that we could easily do in the base game, something that just was super breakable because...
Really? So you're telling me that, like, if I'm looking straight or so, I'm not gonna be able to see anybody to the right of me whatsoever, even though I can see my fingers and everything off in the distance while looking straight. That's crazy.
Entire like sequences were built around that, where a guard would be standing against a wall and then you could just come out next to him and he wouldn't see you as you approach him. And so I'm wondering if they've improved that. So I'm gonna walk right next to this guy as he crosses in front of this cover and see if he detects me. Okay, right here, I'm at like 90 degrees to him. Yeah. I still had to do it like right in front of him to get detected. And
I guess they still haven't fixed that, has they? These guys look horrible, damp green, baby crap brown. These devs seem depressed or something that they want to share it.
okay, so that
It's because they're going the old style, like the old art style or so from the original first 3 Star Wars games.
it's not
That's
really
the art
improved.
style they're going for.
Everybody was alerted pretty much immediately, though. That is improved. Previously, these guys over there would not have been activated. They would have just continued looking at me weirdly. And so that is a step up. I'll give them credit for that. The other piece of this, though, was with weapons you pick up, like this grenade launcher right here. Previously, in the launch version of the game, if I ran up here and I tried to use this grapple hook thing, I would drop it. I would just drop it right here. I couldn't bring it with me to that other part of the level. I just would leave it behind. Really weird, like Xbox 360 era problem that they had for whatever reason. But now she puts it on her belt and carries it with her. And if I run up here and I climb this, she grabs it, puts it on her belt, and then keeps going. So you can actually...
Well, at least that's good. At least, they fixed that. Well, at least that's 1 point for Ubisoft. I'll give them 1 point for that at least.
You carry these weapons
At least
with
1
you now,
point.
which
1 point.
is a big
So far.
improvement. I think that is awesome. Insert obvious, like, should have been here from the start, dude. I totally agree. In my too long didn't watch summary of my review, I said that this was a 6 out of 10 at launch. Like, I was not that impressed with how many problems they had in the game at launch. It was pretty clear it had been rushed through and through. But they are making these improvements now, and I do think that deserves credit. Now, there are still problems. As you can see, this guy should be seeing me. He had to get that close to see me standing here. Like, that's a little much. Like, I don't think that that's particularly realistic. I think they should have been able to see me. But
What about the takedowns? Did they fix the animations for the takedowns where like the fist doesn't connect to the face or something like that? Did they manage to fix that? Question mark.
whatever. I mean, if we're sitting
no?
here, I'm gonna see somebody standing up there, here, all the way back here. I'm still gonna see them, especially if they don't look like they're wearing the right uniform. I probably am gonna see them here. Like, the fact that they had to get all the way up here before they detected me, that still I think needs some tweaking and some improvement. I get maybe this is like they're not trying to go super like grounded hardcore stealth. I understand that, but still I think that is jarring when the rest of the world and the rest of the recreation of the Star Wars universe is pretty well done. It's a little jarring to go back and see it so unrealistic. Now, enemy behaviors and AI in individual combat sequences has been tweaked as well, so the enemies are far more likely to use cover if they have access to it. That's supposedly one of the big shifts that they've made. So if I get somewhere like maybe I run around here and I get somewhere where they do have cover available to them, they should start to use that cover instead of just standing totally out in the open. So you can see they're over there, and maybe I alert them that I'm back here. And the other thing they've done is they've added the ability to swap shoulders manually by pressing the left stick, which again,
That wasn't there on launch? Bro, the fucking anime battle royale game that we played or so had it literally they had it in their playtest. How the fuck do you not have this for this game? If an anime battle royale game has that, why doesn't okay. All right.
should have been there at launch, but I'm glad to have it here nonetheless. So she's walking
Oh, Jesus Christ.
out in front of the cover. She's gonna rush me, really? Okay.
Hey, look, it's the Yoda scream.
I think that also still needs a little bit of tweaking. But okay, let's talk about this a little bit more abstractly. I do think there's fun to be had in Star Wars Outlaws. I think your tolerance
It's the
for some of
Yoda scream. It's my
janky
redeem.
AI and NPC behaviors has to be a little higher. I think you've got to have a higher tolerance for really kind of outdated facial animations because they are pretty rough. Even in like main story cutscenes, it's really, really inconsistent in terms of quality. But if you're looking for a fun Star Wars adventure, there is one to be had here. It's not super serious, it's not super gritty.
Isn't there like other Star Wars games that are just way funner? Like Star Wars Unleash. Like I remember Star Wars Unleashed was also really good too. And then like the first what is it? Jedi Fallen Order or whatever it's called, the first one at least, like from EA or so, was even better than this for like a story, for like a really good story Star Wars game, you know, to have fun and adventure type, you know? Like KOTR. Oh, Knights of the Republic. Yeah, Knights of the Republic 2 as well. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, there's others that are just way better, you know, for like a fun story-esque type of way, you know, for like a fun adventure.
It's a very
you know?
modern Disney Star Wars adventure, which for some people is an immediate turn off. But then again, like, I don't know what we could reasonably expect. I mean, considering it's the modern era and Disney still owns Star Wars, so it was.
To be honest, I think Disney owning Star Wars was probably like the biggest mistake ever, because now Star Wars is just not that great, and it's super, you know, it's super safe, you know. The Apprentice games were awesome. I don't even know the Apprentice games.
It's always going to kind of end that way, but
It's just that the problem is like Disney just doesn't want to do anything cool with the IP, you know. They don't want to do anything like gritty. They don't want to do anything like, you know, especially when it comes to their games, specifically their games. Like they could have done something so cool with Star Wars Outlaws, you know, but they don't, because, you know, at the end of the day, Star Wars, you know, Disney makes the final decisions of like how they want their shit to be made, you know. They'd be like, oh, we don't want blood, we don't want decapitation, because like, remember, right, someone had to mod in on one of the, I think Battlefront 2 or so, to add like where the lightsaber like decapitates, you know, the stormtroopers or the fucking you know, or the Republic or so, right, their soldiers and everything like that. Like they had to literally mod that in order for it for the Star Wars game to look really cool, you know. Star Wars is not stigmatized IP. Anything it touches is not viewed with apprehension. That's fucking wild. Back in the 2000s, another Star Wars was a golden standard. Yeah, Darth Vader's apprentice, the guy pulled down Star Destroyers. Don't really know. I only know Star Wars Unleashed when it comes to the game. Like Star Wars Unleashed was like probably one of the like a lot of fan favorites games. I never got the chance to play it because I was poor, so we couldn't buy many games. So or any I had to stick with like one game only, and like the only game that I can think of or so that I can have that can basically have my money's worth or so was Call of Duty, because I didn't have money. My mom didn't have money, um yeah. Um I didn't get into the last moment of the PlayStation 3 or so era is when I started saving a little bit of money to buy some games, but not a whole lot though. PS4 is where I started doing that. But yeah. But Star Wars Unleashed was like everyone's like fan favorite on the console, you know? Like that was the one that everyone enjoyed quite a lot, cuz it was like a more you played as the apprentice of Darth Vader. At least that's what I know anyways.
I do think they've made a good number of improvements in the last few patches and with this big update. I can already feel some major quality of life improvements, reworks to the stealth systems, removing the requirement for forced mandatory stealth, I think is a solid move. A lot of people are like, why would you do that? What's the problem with stealth? Nothing's wrong with stealth. The problem is with bad stealth. And they didn't have a lot of great stealth in this game. So they're removing the requirement if you'd rather just blast your way through it. The combat when you are not stealthing is still a little more lackluster than I would have hoped for. I mean, it's literally just one blaster that you have, and then like you can throw some grenades or you can pick up blasters and do stuff that way, but it's pretty minimal.
It's kind of jarring or so that this is supposed to be an open world game, right? I assume this is what it is, right? I don't know anything about the Star Wars this game anyways. It's an open world, right? You can't have another gun but only your fucking blaster that you have with you. I'm like you should be able to get another weapon and upgrade it and like change parts and stuff like that, especially in an open world type of setting game. Because that's like the standard, right? Because like all other open world games, when you pick up a gun or so, right, from a dead body, or you buy it from somewhere, from some shop or something, you could take it with you, and then you can modify it and everything like that. It's an Ubisoft title, of course it's open world. That's true. All of their games are basically open world at this point. Like a shittier version, at least for the gacha games anyway. At least the gacha games are a little bit more interesting when it comes to their open world.
And bare bones. It's still, though, I think solid enough to have a good time if you pick it up on a decent sale.
I would probably pick this up if it was like maybe $10, maybe $10.
I still don't think this is a full-on recommend buy even after these improvements, because there's still some clunk, there's still some problems with enemy AI and like detection and stuff, and I don't think that's magically going to get fixed overnight, but I do think they've taken some good steps to
I don't know, man. It seems like No Man's Sky kind of put more changes in their first patch than Star Wars and Star Wars Outlaw did, in my personal opinion. I think it can definitely be changed overnight, you know, pretty fucking easily, you know. I'm just saying, you know, like the best example is fucking No Man's Sky. I don't know, that seems like a bigger patch compared to they fixed the UI. Here's the general gameplay stuff that they fixed. The generation or so, the randomizer generation or so. Creatures, atmospheric, the terrains, they changed the terrain too. The visuals have been changed. Space itself, space combat, raiders, they changed the audio too as well, you know. I'm like a dev, like the squad for fucking No Man's Sky has a smaller dev team compared to, you know, compared to Ubisoft, and then like patch this one, you know, this patch as well, you know. I don't know, man. I don't know, chaps. And then, you know, and look at all this changes or so. Look at literally look at all of these changes. Look at this list. This list is so fucking massive. It's a big ass fucking list. So I don't know. I think it can't be changed overnight, you know. It just really depends how much are you willing to put the work in it, you know. Cause they did it. They fucking did it. So it's just like, you know, I'm like, they could do it too.
To make improvements, and I think they deserve some credit for that, because a lot of companies, as we've said for a long time, would have just walked away from this and would have abandoned it. And
I will give them some credit, but they're still not there yet. I'll probably give them a star or E for effort at least. You know, I'd be like, oh, good job, Timmy. Good job, Timmy. Here you go. Here's a gold star. You tried your best, but you're not there yet, you know?
so I'm glad to see that they're not doing that and they're taking steps to improve it. But I think it's important that we don't delude ourselves and act like, okay, well, all is forgiven now. Everything's cool. It's like, no, should have been like this from the start. Should have fixed it from the very beginning. Glad you're doing it now, but it really should have never been necessary to begin with.
They'll never sell fucking Disney. Never. I mean, not Disney. I mean, they'll never sell Star Wars. Never.
But
It's never
as we
happening.
saw in the wake of Star Wars Outlaws, Yves Guillemot, the CEO of Ubisoft, was so startled by the underperformance financially of this game that they delayed Assassin's Creed Shadows to February, and the reporting is that every other Assassin's Creed project, of which there's like 6 or 7 right now in the near future, all of those also got delayed, and each one of those represents a major financial hit. I mean,
Jesus Christ. Holy shit.
in just AC Shadows, I believe they said in their earnings call that delay constituted like 20 to 30 million dollars to push it back just like 3-4 months from November to February. That's crazy, but that's what they were willing to do because they did not want to run into a Star Wars Outlaws situation again, where there might be a few good snippets within the game, but because of these like really jarring, jagged edges, people just can't see the good stuff in the game, and they
It's also like it already left a really bad impression initially anyways. Like honestly, like who's gonna come back and check the game again, you know, after the initial launch of the game itself? Like this disaster, well, not the disasters, but like a terrible fucking launch day, you know? Like who's actually going to come back and play it again after like all these patches and everything like that? Usually a lot of gamers don't really play the game back when they have a really bad impression already to begin with, you know?
can only focus on the problems because the problems are super disruptive. And I hope that that leads to games, not just from Ubisoft, but from every publisher that are way more polished at launch. They don't leave in these little rough edges, or as Yves Guillemot, again, the CEO of Ubisoft, said in the wake of Star Wars Outlaws, he called them little frictions. He's like, we've always launched games with little frictions that we...
You call these things little friction? Oh man, dude, you're actually delusional if you actually think these are little tiny bits of, oh no, sorry, oopsies, my bad, you know? No, these are pretty big ass fucking, these are pretty game changing, like actual fucking no-nos, you know, and uh-ohs.
polish after launch, but now it seems that we can't do that anymore. Which is, yep, welcome to 2024. Gamers have high standards for what they spend their money on. Yep, that's what we're doing now. So I hope that...
What do you think? I have not played a single Ubisoft game besides like X Defiant though, but that's free to play, so that doesn't really count, right? The last Ubisoft game I ever touched was Black Flags. That's literally it. That's literally the only that's literally the only last game I've ever touched. I don't think I'm gonna play this shit, to be honest.
That this is the
I'm not really much of a Star Wars fan. Like I watched like I watched all 6 Star Wars movies, you know, the first 3 with Anakin Skywalker in it. I thought they were pretty good actually. I actually quite enjoyed them actually. And the old ones too, A New Hope and everything like that. I've seen all of them. I think I personally like the first 3 personally. I don't know, maybe because I don't like how, like, I guess how old the other ones are, you know. There are some aspects that I do like the old ones compared to the first one, but the CGI or so, and like the cool effects and everything out of the first 3 or so were just more visually appealing. But you know, everyone has their own opinion about which, you know, everyone says the New Hope and, you know, those trilogies were the best, you know. I'm like, I think they're okay. Personally, I'm not really a huge fan of them, but I still watch them anyway. There are some aspects I do like, but I think visually, you know, the Phantom Menace and whatever the Phantom Menace trilogy or so, whatever you want to call them or so. I forgot what the other 2 movies are. I think I personally like those more because visually it just looks more appealing. So, and I actually quite like it a lot. I like the CGI. There's a lot of the CGIs I actually do enjoy actually from it.
shift towards a push for quality first and foremost above all else. I really hope that's the move. And patches like this and updates like this are awesome to see because I do think they represent a healthy shift in the industry. Even if this patch isn't the one that is the end-all be-all that fixes everything, I do think that they deserve some credit for making these improvements, which frankly I didn't really expect them to make. I really expected them to just sort of walk away from the game and not bother fixing it. I thought that they were just going to be like, yeah, it didn't turn a profit. What's the point? What's the point? See, this guy's using cover. Previous enemies barely used cover at all, but this guy's now actually using cover. So maybe it was just the cave? I mean, that is an improvement. Again, should have been here from the start, but...
Granted, the cover, at least the cover system that they're using or so is not super great or so. Because you want to know something? There are some games, right, where they kind of like, they don't peek upwards, right? They don't like peek up and like shoot you. They sometimes like put their gun over the fucking cover and like shoot randomly or so, right? Like they'll sometimes do that, you know. There's like a variety of animations of that specifically. I know there's some games in the past that did it or so, where like an enemy was like covering behind and then they would like shoot above them and whatnot and like all this other shit, you know, especially with like the pistol and stuff like that.
But still, that is better, and I think that's good to see. Every time I see blasters being used, I'm always like, why don't they just use like actual machine guns, like with actual bullets? I feel like that would be so much more effective, so much more potent and useful. But instead, they're using Star Wars blasters. Maybe it's like, I don't know, some Star Wars nerd is gonna tell me, well, actually, Luke, the reason that they use blasters instead of bullets is because of this, this, and this. I don't know what the reason is, but it's always weirded me out that like somebody can survive a blaster shot to the face, like without any armor on, and like just use a 9mm. Like, what are we doing? But regardless of what you think of Star Wars Outlaws, we're not going to be getting a sequel to the game. They've already said that the team behind it, Ubisoft Massive, they are moving on to work on the Division 3. So, I mean,
They're doing the Division 3 already? Huh. Interesting.
they're not doing another one. They're not doing another Pandora, or Avatar Frontiers Pandora rather. They're not doing any of that. They're moving on from these licensed games that I think kind of came about in that like 2017-18 era is when they were first greenlit and budgeted for. And now it's just not that practical. They're so expensive to make. Disney takes 20-30% of every copy sold.
Well, it's just the problem is they make terrible decisions to make these kinds of licensed games. I feel like no Outlaws 2. No, we're not having a Outlaws 2. Sorry, chat. I'm like, I bet you $10. I bet you $10 if you give me like a studio and like a good well-rounded developers, we can probably make a really good license game, you know? Like I can bet money on that, to be honest.
It's next to impossible to turn a profit. Okay, that was cool. And so
is it impossible to turn a profit? Look at Hogwarts Legacy, for example. Look at Spider-Man, for example. I don't think it's impossible to make a profit. It's just literally if you can like the decision makings of how to make the game actually fun and good is what it actually matters the most. At least give us an Outlaws remaster. You think they'll do that? I wouldn't be surprised if they... Well, who knows if they actually do that, to be honest. It's Ubisoft. I don't think Ubisoft does remasters for their games anyways.
it's really, really hard to justify all of the work that has to go into it to make it financially viable. I mean, this game would have to sell... I think we did the math on stream. It was something crazy, like 10 to 11 million copies to most likely break even, and at launch they sold about 1 million. I think it was like 900 something thousand. So these games just are not that practical anymore. These
Well, because they don't make the game good. It wasn't even good to begin with. Like, honestly,
licensed titles. So I think we're not going to see another one. Even if you really, really loved Star Wars Outlaws, they're going to move on to something else. But at the very least, they are not abandoning Star Wars Outlaws. They are making improvements, and they've assigned a new game director to help supervise those improvements and those overhauls, and I think that that's cool to see. Anyway, let me know.
I'm tooting my own horn because you want to know something. It's just these people kind of lost their visualness, like their inspiration and the visualness of like how to create a good, fun game. You know, like that's the only thing. Like I feel like you can turn just to make a profit. It's just the problem is just like, what are they thinking when it comes to like the development of some of these games?
What you think of all of this in the comment section below. I'll be interested to hear what you guys think. If this is a noticeable improvement, if this is something that will constitute a reevaluation on your part, maybe this is something that gets you to check out the game or go back to it if you already have it, or maybe you're just not interested at all, and that's fine too. If you don't want to buy the game, don't buy the game. If you don't think it looks very good, don't buy it. It's really quite simple, remarkably simple, dare I say. But I will say, I do still really like the implementation of this transition from space to the planet's surface that they did. I think it's just so smooth. So you see we get a little closer, and then we're going to get prompted to land here in a second once we get close enough. And it's a seamless transition from space to the spaceport. We select which one we want to go to. We come in here. We kind of fast forward. Boom. And I know insert obvious, like, oh, it's actually a load screen, Luke. It's just covered up. Like, no shit, Sherlock. Yeah, of course. That's what it is. Good job figuring that out. But like, it's done very, very smoothly for a game like this. Typically you just have full-on load screens, but this is done really cleanly right there. Of course, full seamless with something like No Man's Sky or Star Citizen or something is even more impressive. But for open world games like this, this is pretty cool and pretty well done. I mean, that's pretty smooth. That's pretty smooth. I'll give them that. Still, I find that pretty baller. But yeah,
Hey, at least it's better. It's better than Bethesda's game Starfield. So at least it's better than Starfield. You know.
like I said, I think it's still a wait for a sale or wait for further fixes. They're getting there. They're making improvements. It's just got a little ways to go before it's all the way there. But until then, you're just gonna have to wait. And oh no! As I was filming this outro, it crashed again. Dude. Okay, that's 2 crashes now. Okay, this is like, it's just reaffirming for me. Okay, we're not gonna do this. Okay, I have what's known in the business as a supercomputer. If my computer is crashing twice within like a single 45 minute to hour long recording, there's something wrong. There's something wrong. So I don't think they're there yet. You definitely need to wait for further patches.
Yeah, it's if they're gonna keep patching it and making it better and better and better, that's nice. But at the end of the day, it's already a little too late. The impression of this game has already been left its mark. And well, Lord of Behold, it is what it is. But anyways, yeah, I just kind of wanted to see if they fixed it, quotation marks, fixed it, you know. If they fixed Star Wars Outlaws, but unfortunately no. They haven't really fixed it. So, but anyways, yeah, that's the end of the video. You guys can comment, like, subscribe, do all that fancy jazzy stuff, and let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below about Star Wars Outlaws, you know, because I always read the comment sections every time. But yeah, Star Wars 1313 would have been so much of a better option, to be honest. It's been a decade, let it go. This person needs to chill, to be honest. But yeah, we should have had Star Wars 1313 in my personal opinion. But anyways, yeah, that's the end of the video, and peace.